Hello everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Today's topic is an interesting one that most people wouldn't consciously think about. But I'm talking about it because I've noticed a lot of people struggling with it, even struggling with the idea of being diplomatic. So let's talk about what being diplomatic actually means, why it is so important, when to balance it with being genuine, how to work on yourself to become more diplomatic, and how to teach your child to do so. Yalla, let's get started. What does being diplomatic mean? As per Google, it is having or showing an ability to deal with people in a sensitive and tactful way. So sensitive and tactful, meaning that you need to be able to read them, understand them, and cater to their feelings in order not to hurt or offend them. It's a lot like emotional intelligence, which is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and utilize emotions effectively in oneself and others. It involves balancing emotional impulses with rational thought to improve communication, to manage stress, to empathize, and navigate social complexities that are crucial for personal and professional success. So do you see the similarities here? A lot of people think of being diplomatic as being ingenuine, or being very calculated, or being fake. And they tend to say that they are direct and forward people, ببجوا بج, as they say in the Lebanese dialect, meaning they say it as it is. But is it as it is, or are these just the words that first come to your mind? And what brought these words to your mind in the first place anyway? Have you ever thought about that? In many cases, it's our upbringing. We learn to communicate from our parents and the people close to us during childhood and our culture. So how it is, quote unquote, is actually very subjective. So yes, even our ability to be diplomatic is affected by our childhoods. But that doesn't mean that it's set in stone. No, we can change it because our brains are moldable. We just need to practice because change happens with repetition. And if you believe that being diplomatic is not being real or that it's lying, because there's this belief or excuse that I'm just being honest. But honesty without awareness can become harshness. And honesty without emotional intelligence can damage connections. Diplomacy is the ability to balance honesty with empathy. So you're being honest, but in a nice way. It's choosing not just what to say, but how to say it, when to say it, and even whether it needs to be said. Because the reality is, you can have good intentions, but still create the wrong impact. The way we communicate can be rude, attacking, aggressive, and result in the other party being offended, defensive, or hurt, which isn't the result that you would want. We usually communicate to find solutions, to build connections, to work towards common goals, and so on. So being diplomatic is vital in all our relationships, whether it's professional or personal. So now, why do we struggle with being diplomatic? There are two parts to it. The obvious one, the communication part, and the not so obvious one, which is what's going on inside of us, our emotional reactivity, what we learned growing up, and also what we have been through. Our emotional reactivity comes from our past, our traumas, our unmet needs that can be triggered by a word, by a tone, by a smell, by any similarity that takes us back without even being aware and causes us to react either by being emotional or by going silent and taking ourselves out of the situation. This is the avoidant way. Or by being defensive, because I'm not taking this shit anymore, I'm not accepting it, so I'm gonna fight. And this is the confrontational way, which can be more aggressive than needed. These reactions, although they are understandable, they are not always helpful or acceptable, right? The better way would be the diplomatic way that would allow us not to take things personally and then respond. How do we do that? Well, first, we need to understand our triggers. So to identify our triggers, we need to ask ourselves, when do we get mad? When do we lose our shit? What hurts us the most? What is our greatest fear? Ask yourself these questions. Don't just listen to the podcast without reflecting. That wouldn't help you. So answer these questions to understand the source and then dig deeper. Now, I know that this is not easy to do on your own. It requires a therapist or a coach to guide you with the right follow-up questions, but at least start. This inner work is crucial to get you to the point where you can take yourself out of a situation that might trigger you and allow you not to take it personally, and therefore you're able to respond in a way that suits the situation. And still, after all of that, here are some tips that would help you respond rather than react. Take a deep breath in. This breath gives you time to regulate and to think. But if you're not aware of your triggers, it will not help you as much. But still do it. Then judge whether you need to take it personally or not. So sometimes some people intentionally try to hurt you, annoy you, or make you feel uncomfortable. So these people need to be put in their place. Sometimes in a nice way, other times in not a so nice way. I'm not always with niceness. I prefer it, yes, but I also recognize when one needs to be a bit harsh because not everyone deserves your nice self. So after you decide on whether you think it's intentional or not, decide on how you would like to respond based on the outcome that you would like to achieve. So a lot of us are either taken by the ego or the now, and we don't think of the bigger picture and the outcome that we actually want, and so we react. And that reaction can be damaging to connections, to relationships, and so on. So be mindful of the outcome that you want as well. Now, all of this is done in a matter of seconds. So our automatic responses will usually take over, okay? Automatically. So if you're used to being nice, you will be. If you're used to getting mad and screaming, you will. If you're used to blaming others, you're gonna do that. If you're used to going to fix-it mode and figuring out solutions, you will do that. But now, if you don't like the way you are used to doing things, that's when you need to take a good look at your triggers and work on yourself. Now, why is being diplomatic so important? You know, by the way, I think a lot of people have an issue with the word, not with what it actually means. But anyway, being diplomatic serves your career. In any work environment, there are politics. So you need to be able to read the room, understand people and what their intentions might be, and know how to maneuver such environments and still stick by your values and who you really are. The direct people who can be very aggressive in communication at work can create enemies who can hinder your growth within the company or even kick you out of it in one way or another. So please see the importance in being diplomatic. Now, also in relationships, being diplomatic is crucial. We are assuming that you mean well, all right? Like you're a good person and you mean well. But if a person means well but isn't able to communicate it, then you end up hurting your loved ones. The words we use, the tone, the timing, the body language can either damage the connection or build it. So learn to say things in a better way, especially to your partner. A lot of people feel like, oh, I have to be aware of my words with everyone, which takes a lot of energy. Okay, that's understandable. So now they come home and they feel like, oh, I can finally come home and let go. طيب, if letting go for you means that you can be rude or inconsiderate towards your partner, then I would urge you to reconsider your priorities. Your partner is one of the most important people in your life, if not the most important. So treat them as such. Now, how can we teach our children to be more diplomatic to serve them as adults? The first and most important way is obvious. Lead by example. They will pick it up from you with time. Secondly, observe your child. If you see that they are not able to communicate nicely because they are not able to feel with the other person, then you'll need to work on their empathy. I've covered ways to work on a child's empathy in episode 11, so listen to that episode for more details, to make sure that you work on their empathy. Also, however your child acts or whatever they say, try to understand the why behind it. You can talk to them and ask them, of course in a curious way, not a confrontational way. Many children, and of course depending on their age, feel like they can't express the reason. So note that the more you talk to them and give them room to express, the more they will be able to express themselves. It takes practice and requires your help. So teach them the different terms that will allow them to name the emotions that they are feeling so that they're able to communicate it more and to express the reasons behind any way they act or anything that they say. Then if they respond to people in a rude way, then do the following exercise with them. Ask them what outcome they want to achieve. So let's say here, making a good impression on people. Then ask them to list different options of things that they can say to achieve that. And of course, go to different scenarios, the most common scenarios that they go through. So if they're continuously rude, simply because they don't know what to say, then help them with sentences that can make it easier for them. So do different scenarios and different outcomes. So if the outcome they want to achieve is putting someone in their place without losing the relationship or creating an enemy, then what can you say? Ask them and give them the time to answer. And if they told you that they don't know, tell them it's okay. Tell me anything that one can say and write it down. And then the ideas will flow. And you can absolutely help them with options. Also, tell them about your experiences in life and how you've responded to situations previously and the outcomes of that response, whether it's positive or negative. Even if it's negative, tell them the lessons that it taught you and how you apply it now. I have to say, you will have to repeat yourself a lot. So don't get frustrated, because anyway, this is the way our brains learn, whether we're adults or children, but children needs even more repetition. So be patient and don't expect direct results. Now, when you feel that you're being too diplomatic to the degree, now we're talking about you, all right? If you've become too diplomatic to the degree that you feel that you're not actually sharing what you think and what you truly believe in, just not to hurt another's feelings, then that's when you need to reassess. Because yes, sometimes if taken to an extreme, one can lose themselves when they continuously don't say what they think. Remember, being diplomatic is saying what you think nicely. If it becomes not saying what you think, then it's no longer being diplomatic. It might be classified as lying or like those white lies because you just want to be nice, right? So check in with yourself and adjust as you see necessary. Put in more genuinity. That's it for me today. I hope that this episode convinced you to work on being more diplomatic if you're not, and showed you the benefits of it and clarified what being diplomatic really means. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if you'd like me to help you dig in deeper into your triggers to understand them and not have them take over your reactions, then send me an email on dana@balancedmindsets.com. ويلا, I'll see you next time.